Hello and welcome to Ironside Sheets. So it's thunder and storming, and that got me thinking of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. And then I'm like, Frankenstein. Frankenstein's a monster. Monsters and storytelling. So let's talk about monsters and storytelling. So the interesting part about monsters and storytelling is that it's almost a cliche at this point because we keep seeing them over and over and over again, and just in different views, different lights, and different arcs. Sometimes they get redemption arcs, sometimes they're just monsters, and sometimes it was never them that was a monster at all. Monster at all. So when I think of Frankenstein, I know for a fact that a lot of people say Dr. Frankenstein is the monster. He was the monster all along. If you haven't read it, spoilers, but it's an ancient book. Come on. So he was the monster, right? Well, no, I disagree with you. He was the wuss of the story, not the monster. There wasn't really a monster at all. The closest one is actually maybe the old man who at first talks to the monster, and then as soon as his son and daughter-in-law see him and start screaming their heads off, and then he like almost immediately disowns him. Although I think he's a little more confused than anything else. So he might be the closest, but that's only if I'm remembering correctly. If he disowns the monster and pushes him away, then absolutely he is a monster because this creature has been doing good for them rather than just harming them. And granted, and he speaks French, so he understands him quite well. But Frankenstein is closer to a real monster because he does some atrocious acts. But it's really his stupidity that defines him. He's just a genius level idiot. When you're that intelligent, everything else seems to escape you, at least in terms of storytelling, and sometimes I've seen it in real life. It's happened to me a few times. Frankenstein wants to build his monster, and he does. He succeeds. He's awesome. Well, the monster over time eventually comes back and says, "Hey, I want a companion." Though I do think there is a loophole in the fine print that says he wants a female version of himself, or that doesn't say. So companion could mean a big ass dog that he can't mate with. And then also, Frankenstein doesn't seem to understand that he's incredibly intelligent, and with a little bit of practice could have just removed the female monster's reproductive organs and just told the monster the chance of you having a child are slim, but you will have a partner for as long as you live, type thing. And that would have worked out pretty well, but it doesn't because Frankenstein just decides to destroy everything he made in terms of the female that he was making. So, dumbass. But then you have monsters that come from other series. One of my favorite series is I have books 5 and 6, but Alpha Girls by Eileen Aaron. They are awesome. They talk about werewolves. They talk about vampires. They talk about witches, Mexican witches, brujas. It's quite amusing. I'm Hispanic, if you couldn't tell, so it interests me when I hear about Hispanic culture in books. And you think that the werewolves are monsters. Have you ever seen Van Helsing? The werewolves are mindless creatures, except maybe Van Helsing himself, but even then, he barely had any sense. And that's what gets the girl killed. So, at least that's with Hugh Jackman, by the way. So, in this series, you think werewolves are the monsters, but they're actually the good guys. They're kind of the police of the world, but they tend to just kind of balance everything out rather than a totalitarian government. They fight vampires, and vampires are the undead. Therefore, they are nasty, foul-smelling creatures, and they multiply in a way that no one wants to know about. I've never heard Eileen Aaron mention how they multiply, and it's probably through biting people, but nah. Anyway. So the werewolves go out, kill them, keep them away from their territories, and keep them away from human territories. Though they don't do it to the extreme that they get caught. Do you hear the thunder? And that's the thing. You think, oh, the most human, the witches, would probably be the least monstrous. But no, they're the well, only one of them. The monster tends to always culminate in one character. So uh in the Alpha Girl series, it's Lucina. She is a witch who has stepped into dark magic to continue growing her powers, even though that is totally against nature's law. And she learned that from another coven in South America, in Peru, I believe. Could be wrong though. So they don't care about sacrifices. They don't care how it corrupts their soul, their aura. They don't care about how it impacts the world. They just want more power, and it's that greed on top of a willingness to commit atrocious acts that really messes things up. What's funny is that in the coven in South America, they have a bunch of guinea pigs, and those guinea pigs are dinner. The main character of book five, Bruja, bleh, Bruja, I didn't say it properly. Bruja is Claudia. Tessa is the main character, the overall main character's cousin. All right, so she goes, she finds what she needs to find, and there are all these guinea pigs, and they're like, "Oh, are these pets?" And like, no, they're dinner. And it's this real weird thing that makes you think, "Oh my God, they eat guinea pigs," and then you realize that they're actually a food source down there, and they are raised for meat. It's just a little bit funny. Now, you also have the horror franchise that is Jurassic Park. Jurassic World is more action adventure. Jurassic Park was a little more horror and a horror adventure. And you have the dinosaurs, and they're real cunning, and they can be, but again, they're just animals. They're wild animals doing their thing, and they're a little bit off, so they probably don't think straight. And then you end up with people who through greed and a willingness to harm others, screw everything up. And that's how you end up with the park shutting down. That, and I think it was like 10,000 volts, and 10,000 volts is less than a taser. I've heard tasers are 50,000 volts. I could be wrong. Anyway, monsters. I haven't reread the Pillage trilogy. I'm still on book 2 right now, and I haven't started it, but I do remember how it generally goes. Here's one of the few times that monsters are the monster. You have the main characters who are drawn to raise this new dragon egg, and they realize that she's beautiful, she's gorgeous, and she seems a little bit more pristine. And there's something going on around that is like prompting them and pushing them forward. They know someone's out there, but they need to raise this dragon so they can kill it. Because, she's a monster. She's crazy. She's a little batshit. And but she, in her magnificence, even though she isn't still a wild animal, well, wild magical thing, because she's technically not an animal, more like a plant baby. It's weird. She's just out there. She's growing. She's become stronger. Her ability to control others has become stronger. And she tears shit up. She starts manipulating people to make them do shit for her. And that is a scary thing. It's always the idea of manipulation. It's greed. It's a willingness to harm the innocent. That's what makes a true monster. And also, I put in anyone who is willing to kill kids. Now that I'm thinking about it, can't remember one from there. I think that happens in Artemis, actually. I think Yasmin Bashar is still in her teens, and she nearly gets slaughtered by a hench a cartel henchman. That's pretty awesome. Any thoughts about monsters? Monsters in storytelling? See, the thing about all that is I've read a lot and I've read very little. In many stories, especially the Seeker series that I've read, we're the monsters, humans, because we're so capable of the things that we consider monstrous. Isn't that crazy, huh? It's again greed, willingness to harm others, manipulation, and a whole host of other personality traits that no one wants to see in the average person because they're scary. They don't elicit trust, they don't breed a safe environment. Instead, they throw you into the unknown and make it so that you don't feel safe. You feel on edge and you want to push that away, but the story is so interesting that it pulls you right back in. What's your favorite monster from a series? Leave it in the comments below. And if you like this video, like it. If you think someone else will like it, share it. And if you like my content, subscribe. I post short videos just about every day now, so that's pretty awesome. And stay tuned for more. Have a great one.